All right, speaking of Robert Saleh, he had a bad week against the Seahawks. Only gave up 13 points, but he just let the Seahawks stay on the field forever. And it's a big reason the Niners lost. What did you think of Robert Saleh's game plan and play calling against Seattle?
Oh, you know, I would have got into the game with the one receiver about whom I would have had a concern. Okay, Najigba. Um, I would have shut down the running. We talked about this going into the game. I told you about the run game of Seattle is my biggest concern. And as weak and as thin as the Niners are at linebacker and issues at defensive line, I would have gone in with an 8-man in the box concept right off the bat, and we're going to shut down this run, and I'm going to put the ball in Sam Darnold's hands and force him to beat me. But I can't let these running backs rip off 5.2, 5.6 yards a carry for 3/4 of a ball game. They gained more yards rushing, Grant, than the Niners had in total offense. The Niners, I think, gained like 173 yards for the game. Seattle's run game had 180 plus yards.
That's right.
And then, but you got to stop what the opponent does best. And this is going to bring up the same issue come Sunday. I hate to tell you right now, you're going to see not only Saquon Barkley, and God bless their souls, but the Niners have not been good playing against a running quarterback. We've talked about it for years now. They've always spit the bit when they get up there. And if you look at what the Eagles have been doing the last few weeks, they have brought back more quarterback-centric runs to their offense. Now, when you come to the playoffs, you had a week off to rest up all the players in Philadelphia. And I look for Barkley to be big. But I tell you what, they're going to have 4 or 5 different run concepts featuring Hurts in this ball game that they have not shown the previous 3 or 4 weeks. And it's not just the zone read in the low red zone. And it's not just that tush-push play on 3rd and inches or 4th and inches. I'm talking about designed runs where you cannot count on Barkley being the ball carrier 93% of the time. So they
quarterback power, quarterback draw, all kind of stuff.
Quarterback counter, all that stuff. See, it's not going to be just the obvious situation. And that brings up the problem about 3rd down defense and how you're going to play against the Eagles. You can't afford to play a 2-deep man under scheme because then who the heck is going to run down Hurts?
Yeah.
You're already sure. Well, look, who's your other nickel linebacker?
Before we get to the Eagles, I want to come back to the Seahawks for a second. It seemed like Saleh made 2 big choices: to play 2 high safeties pretty deep and to play zone on most snaps, even 3rd and manageable 3rd and short, which is a big reason why, one, they ran for so many yards, and 2, they were so good on 3rd down. I didn't like those choices. It seemed like what you want to do against that team is put the game in Sam Darnold's hands as much as possible, and he couldn't do it, or didn't want to, or didn't choose to.
Well, the thing about it, he allowed them to have easy throws, uncontested catches, 3rd and 4, and they were playing zone defense, and he throws a 7-yard ball out to Darnold's left. Easy. Unbelievable. He's throwing the ball to backup tight ends for first downs, if you can.
Who were uncovered.
Yeah, wide open. And nothing but grass around them. And you can't do that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to crush his bubble as a defensive coordinator and all that, but you cannot play that passive style of football and win a championship. You just can't.
It's like he was so afraid of Jackson Smith and Jigba that he let the rest of the team destroy him.
Well, we talked about how to defend that one guy compared to everybody else. And we discussed it. I said, you play that guy man to man, you zone everybody else around it, and now you've got help wherever he goes because you've got a zone defender also to help the guy who's playing the man to man. And then Saleh told you that it required too much thinking and too many changes for the rest of the defense to be able to make that adjustment. See, there we go back to the word adjustment. To win ball games in the playoffs, you have to be able to make adjustments, not only going into the game, but during the game. And he obviously did not adjust prior to the game, and he sure as heck did not really make a good adjustment during the game, especially when you look at, I think, 3 snaps in a row at one point. 3rd and 17, they gained 19. The next play, they gained 17. The next play after that, they gained 12 yards. So they had 3 snaps, consecutive snaps of 19, 17, and 12 yards. I mean, come on.
Come on.
You're letting them walk down Main
Street. That's a lot of bending. Corey Coleman says Lowell said that the Seahawks hit like 11 Ronnie Lots on defense. Did Tom see that too? Can you see Seattle winning it all now that the run game is better? It's a Seahawks fan.
I was looking at the ball clubs today, and a couple other guys were talking about who you like in the playoffs, who you like in the Super Bowl. I tell you what, there's one other team in the NFC West who I think can give Seattle a problem, and that's the Rams.
Yeah.
And they're better at quarterback. They've got some great talent at wide receiver. They're decent at running back. They've got a pretty darn good defense. Now, Seattle has got a great defense right now. But then, there's a Sam Darnold factor. And, I hate to say it, but, he's more prone to having an off day than, say, Stafford is to have an off day. And I think that McVay will do a better job getting ready for Seattle than Kyle did.
I would agree. All day, every day. Kim says, Coach and Grant, it's crazy how Brock gets a pass from the media and fans scoring 3 points. If this was any other quarterback making $53 million, he would have gotten reamed. What do you think of Brock?
Okay. Now, let's say this. Looking at the tapes, watching the All-22 and all that, there were numerous snaps where I saw Brock settle up in the pocket, and you look at the wide-angle sideline view, there was not a single wide receiver or tight end or even a running back close to being open on more than a half a dozen plays. And he had nowhere to go with the ball. And then by then you got some push in the pocket. He had to start moving. He had to start rushing. He had to start to avoid pressure. But the other thing about it is the pass scheme and the pass pattern design played right into Seattle's hands. They're playing, match coverage, and they're reading 2-1 and 1-2 and 2-3 and all. And you look at how the passing game was set up. They had 2 guys on the left side, 2 guys on the right. Well, Seattle passed them all off, and they matched up against them. There was nobody open. I remember one time Brock throws a comeback over on the right side. That was a contested catch that was made, but it was a tough throw. The ball was high. The receiver went up to pull it down. And, that easily could have been an incomplete pass. He didn't have nowhere else to go with the ball. There were too many times that he had no place to go with the football. Guys are going down the field. They were blanketed. Seattle was passing guys off as they were going through areas, and they matched up. And then they had a free defender in the middle who was reading the quarterback, and it was breaking and driving on Brock's eyes and shoulders. It was game over. Seattle had them wired because of the design and the scheme. And I'll tell you what, Philadelphia, Vic Fangio is no slouch when it comes to defensive coordinators. Right now, McDonald's the toast of the league, but, Fangio's been at it 40 years. He's no, spring chicken when it comes to coming up with defensive schemes. It will be a knockdown drag out for the Niners this coming Sunday as well.